Good evening and welcome to another tutorial. So this evening I'm going to show you how to make a beautiful Honey Jade bracelet. So here you can see the Honey Jade, and here's the ring I made on the other tutorial, as you can see. And here's the bracelet. So in true Blue Peter fashion, here's one I made a lot earlier. So as you can see, I've made this one in copper and it's starting to develop a natural patina. But this evening I'm going to show you how to make this bracelet with silver plated wire and 6mm Honey Jade. So to begin with, you're going to need about 25 centimetres. Now I've opted for square wire on this one. Because I like the way that you can twist it. I like the way it looks when you twist it, and I'll show you what I mean at the end. You're also going to need some 0.4mm. So again, I've got silver plated copper. This is anti-tarnish. It comes from Charming Beads. I love buying my wire from there. They're a really good supplier. And I find that the silver plated doesn't tarnish, because obviously you work hardening it, and sometimes the anti-tarnish layer can come off and you're left with sort of a yellowy silvery coloured metal in the end, and that doesn't happen with these. So I highly recommend it. And also we've got these Honey Jade. So we've got the 6mm Honey Jade. Now 6mm, you get about 55 beads per strand. So let me hold the strand up for you. Now I've only taken 5 beads off this. So there you go, you can see. It's a really decent sized strand. I don't know if you can pick the colour up, but it's a gorgeous soft yellow. I mean, it really is beautiful. Such a pretty colour. Such a pretty colour. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off weaving the wire for the bracelet. So as you can see on this one, I've done a simple 3x3 weave, which is what I'm going to replicate on this bracelet here. So we've got 3 over both, 3 over 1, 3 over both, 3 over 1. If you can see that. And that's what we're going to do. So you need to make sure that you're starting far enough in that you've got room to add the bead on the end and secure it. So you're going to be looking at about an inch, about 30mm in. Now it's just an approximation. If you want more of a swirl on the end, or you just want a swirl on the end, feel free to use more. If you want a bigger bead, again, you're going to need to use more, in which case you will need to adjust how much wire in total you need. But for these purposes, I'm about 25 centimetres, and I'm starting about 30mm in. Okay, so I'm just going to show you very quickly. So you can see I'm securing my tail through the 2, if you can see that. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3 loops. So I am going to make sure that they are tucked in nice and tightly, which is something you do need to make sure on the first wraps of any wire work piece, just so you can secure. So obviously it's forming the framework. Now again, I'm using 0.8mm square wire. So try and get it so that they are square and that they're lying flat together. Just gives a tidier appearance when you've finished. the piece and make sure that tail is between the two wires. Otherwise it's at risk of coming undone. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So I'm now going to start wrapping over both wires. So again, like I said, I'm doing a 3 and a 3. So I'm doing 1, 2 and a 3. Now I weave off the coil, as I'm sure you know, but you're going to need about, I would probably say about 50 to 75 centimetres of 0.4. I would always gauge on the higher side. You can always cut it off rather than having to weave in an extra length. So as you can see, we've done our 3 over both, and now we are going back in between the 2. So 1, 2 and 3. There we go. So you can see that now I'm going to do this right to the very end of the wire. So rather than you sit and watch me, I will be right back. And I'm back. So as you can see, we are almost at the end. I wanted to show you what happens when we get to the end. So I'm just going to finish off wrapping, just so you can see what I'm doing. So we're doing the 3 and 3. So round both with 3, and then round that bottom one with 3. If you can see what I'm doing, and then we just tuck it in nice and tightly. Now I use my finger when it gets to this point. And then what we're going to do is we'll show you how to twist the wire to make it fancy, and also how to add the beads. So while I'm doing this, again, this is one of those tutorials, and I do love doing them. It's one of those tutorials that you can easily adapt for any period, any birthday, Christmas even. So I've used silver plated wire here, but as you know, you can do it with copper, obviously with silver, gold filled. It's really flexible, and I've used the square wire this time, but as I said, that's so I can show you how to just make it a little bit fancier. But you don't have to use square, you can use round. You could use half round to bind it, to actually weave it. You don't have to use the full round like I've got here. So, as I said, you need to leave about an inch, depending on the size of the stone you've picked. If you're feeling really brave, you could adapt this into a necklace. Make a solid choker and just adapt and the lengths to give you the required length to make one. It will definitely be a different style. So I've come nearly to the end here, as you can see. So pay careful attention. So I'm doing 1, 2, 3, and again 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and the last one, 1, 2, and 3. So roughly about equal. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this through here, and I am just going to actually 1, 2, 3. And there we go. And I'm going to chop it, snip it just there, just like that. Then what you need to do is you need to get a pair of pliers, and you need to make sure that that tail is completely tucked away. And again, the same for this side. So if you remember, we brought the tail through. So again, we're just going to snip the tail, and then we're going to make sure that's all squeezed together like that. So what you end up with is a piece that's like this. So we've got 2 ends like that, and this is where you need your beads. And also, like I said, I'm going to show you about twisting the wire, which is why I've left a little bit more of a tail on this end. So as you can see, it's all square. And then what you do is you literally just take a pair of pliers and twist. And this is the reason I picked the square wire. So there you go. Now that's completely optional. Obviously you don't have to do that if you don't want to. Won't force you. It's part of it's part of the free will of this design, if you will. So as you can see, I've threaded the bead on, and now I am just curling it back around. I'm not going to twist that side. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to pop the bead on, and I'm going to twist. And also the great thing about this is it doesn't need to be symmetrical. So that's one end done. And again, I'm going to take my flat nose pliers, and I am going to twist. Twisting a bit more this time so you can see it a little bit better. Do be careful when you're doing this though, that you don't twist it so much that you break it. So again, I've popped the bead onto the twisted end. And there we go. That's round and down. And again, with the other side, let's take hold and around until it's secure. And if you need to, you can always tuck your tail. You can see I'm just taking my tail and I'm just tucking it up. You may need a pair of narrow nose pliers to do this, just to make sure it gets nice and tight. There we go. And the same for that side. If you just want to tuck that tail up, you can do. Okay, and make sure your weave is all nice and tight. And then, so there you go, you can see we've got beautiful bracelet. And then all you're going to do is curl it into a cuff. Now if you've got a bracelet mandrel, you can use that. If you haven't, then freestyle it. I would absolutely recommend freestyling it. So this one is finished. So there we go. As always, there will be stills and there will be in the comments a description of all the items that I've used. They've all come from Charming Beads. Same with the ring. So I'm just going to show you there. So there's the ring and the bracelet together. There we go. A perfect gift for Mum on Mother's Day. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you all very soon.